We're gonna give this a couple seconds as people get a chance to log on. Please put hi in the comment section or something, a thumbs up, whatever it is, and let us know where you're viewing this from. We are live now on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. That's three very different personalities for those three sites usually. Even though we all have all three of those sites, I feel like we act differently on each of them. So I am David Shar, and I am so honored to be here with Shannel Winslow, who is just an incredible human being in general. The first time I saw Shannel, I saw her in some sort of lecture. I think it was in our master's program in
Yes, it
IO
was.
psychology. I think it was like I was being onboarded, right? It was like
That's right.
orientation, and there were a bunch of people in the room, and Chanel was
hmm
in the room. And she
That's
was
right.
like sitting in the back of the room and like took over the orientation. And it was so cool. She added so much to it. But Chanel is a big personality type of person, super creative. And today we are lucky enough to have her here so that she can tell us about what it is to be a Chanel within an organization and to really job craft, and even more than that, to be an intrapreneur, to change the very landscape of your organization by the very fact that you refuse to be, tied in
Yeah.
to your job description.
Right.
So I hope I gave Chanel justice. I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about you, Chanel.
Gosh, I hope I can live up to that because thank you so much, Dave. First of all, to be like on the show, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so appreciative of you. First and foremost, can you see me? I just want to make sure you can see me.
I can see you.
Awesome. Okay. You're right. We did meet. We met at University of Maryland, College Park. We were definitely in a panel. And David, you are just an amazing partner. You're an amazing colleague, and I'm just so blessed and fortunate to be on the show. So, just a little bit about me. I am I would say, a project program manager at heart. I got my, chops in the financial industry. I was a business analyst. I went to become a project manager. From there, I became a program manager. And to be quite honest, I love that aspect of it, but I did not like the fact that I was in a technology-based organization. I figured that there could be more. And so while being in that technology role, I started, mentoring people. I started doing a lot of one-on-ones. I had about 25 folks reporting to me at that time. And I became very aware of what made me happy, what brought me joy. And I'm like, performance, management items, one-on-ones, just being able to get out there and develop different types of mentoring programs really just made me happy. So during that time, I had different conversations with my leadership, and I was like, hey, look, I really would love to be able to do more of X. And they helped me out. They supported me to go back and get an IO degree, which I had no idea what that was at the time. I was just like, I have no idea what the industrial and organizational psychology is, but it sounds great. And so I, entered into the program and got the awesome opportunity within that realm to be able to do some on the job training. So almost like sandbox items, because I was tapped to stand up a new organization, a design organization at my current job. So bringing that into and being able to merge what I'm learning in the classroom, and building out things like a selection criteria, performance management standards, employee engagement, being able to help these minds, and of leadership as well as from a design perspective build out this new function, was an amazing opportunity. And that's when I was able to really kind of merge my IO, and my project management and organizational development background into what I am today. So I say all that to say that I actually am in a new role as of October of last year. So not really new, but newish. October of last year, where I am leading a program in the government consulting space. for cybersecurity division, and I have a team of folks that do all the things that I helped my last company build out: training, employee engagement, performance management, onboarding, and it's been amazing. So that's where I am now.
I love it. So a lot of times people feel very stuck within their lane, like they have to pick a lane and stick to it.
Right. That's right.
And a lot of times they define that lane by the organizational structure or the job title or whatnot. The fact that you've been able to jump between lanes and create your own lanes, what did you not go in with this concept, like that you had to choose something? And what's your mindset around that?
Yeah. So one, I did go into that as that mindset where I had to kind of abide by my job description, right? I was in a role and I was like, okay, so I'm in IT. So I got to do IT things. I got to manage IT project managers. I have to be able to provide what my organization needs in the role that they gave me. The one thing I would say is that I had to conquer fear. And that is the fear of being rejected, the fear of, being put back into a box. And ultimately, I identified what brought me joy. Like, what was I happy doing? I was very deliberate in identifying those activities that when I felt joy, I did them. Right. So, for example, if I'm having a one-on-one with a person and we are talking about their career development and I'm looking at the time and it's only slated for 30 minutes, but I have a meeting and I'm like, you know what, let me push this other meeting so I can continue this conversation. Right. Those are the types of things that I was able to jot down, like literally jot down and say, Shannel, what are these things that bring you joy? Is there a way for us to group them? And then I'm really big on monetizing value, right? So I was like, how can I monetize this? How can I do more of this? Yeah. And then the next step was really saying, what does my organization get out of me doing these things? And I think that's the importance, right? You have to, of course, find your joy, but remember that you are, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're working for an organization, right? They are expecting you to do the job that they've assigned you to do. However, it is your responsibility to be able to look at that and say, you know what, if I did this, this is what y'all could get out of me. If I did this, then I will be able to do X, Y, and Z, and we can take this to another level. So for me, it was, I can do the project management, but if I am mentoring, if I am coaching, if I am building out career development plans, then that's going to lead to an increased employee engagement. If I care about their motivational factors and I'm tracking that on a quarterly basis, then guess what? You have people who want to show up and do their better work. If I am having conversations with my employees and building that trust, then guess what? I am building a bridge for them and saying, I understand that you are looking for another role. That's fine. Let me help you get there. What does that do? That gives us a heads up that, someone's leaving and we can plan accordingly versus this being this surprise, shock, and awe when they put in their 2 weeks, right? Right. It's helping organizations be able to see the value in what you're trying to bring.
I love everything you just said. So you're talking a lot about skills and tactics. Like, It's amazing to me that working within an organization, because I've gone the entrepreneurial route for the majority of my career, because I felt like that's how I can sort of just run my own career. But you were doing it from inside, and you were like practically putting together your own personal SWOT analysis, right? That's one of the tactics you're sort of talking to. And then the other thing that I heard you say was that you're then selling up, right? Yep. And right. That is an incredible, skill to have. So you're talking a lot about tactics and skills. We actually had a question come in from Facebook. Juanita asked, what kind of characteristics should an employee have to become an intrapreneur? Because I believe it's not for everybody. So that's a really great question, because while you're talking about tactics and skills, she wants to know about, personality, like who should even approach this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that it's some of the same kind of skills you would have as an entrepreneur, right? You have to be willing to take risk. You have to be willing to help others and meet them where they are, right? In many cases, leadership they want to do better, they want to do more, right? But they really don't have the time in certain cases to be able to reach back and ask for that feedback and implement that feedback, right? Some of those skill sets are, I would say, again, being courageous, understanding that there will be rejection, getting used to rejection. But those hard skills, I would have to take it back to being able to sell. Not everyone is going to say yes the first time, right? How do you overcome that? How do you sell that? How do you package that value up? So not only, are you able to sell it, but they're able to sell it. Because 9 times out of 10, especially if you get to a place where, you are really trying to build out huge organizations and you're trying to bring in new functionality or new functions rather into an organization, you're going to have to get kind of big wig sign off on that, right? So it's helping to not just tell the story, but also packaging it in a way into other people can tell that story. And that's presentation design, that's data visualization, that's visual storytelling, and those types of skills. And then it's also follow-up, right? So for me, having a background in, project management has helped me be able to plan out things, right? Like, what? Hey, we have this, I don't know, we are trying to stay competitive in the market. We're trying to meet this date. What are those things that we need to do in order to meet this date to be able to stay competitive in our market? So being able to track that. But I think most importantly, is making sure that you are addressing a need. Right? Making sure that it's a need and you have that data to back up that there is a need in the organization. And, you're capturing that through whatever research means that you have. David, you said SWOT, definitely that is a mechanism for you to look at internal, but also external challenges, right? Like if you're bringing in new functions into an organization, you want to understand what the competitive landscape is. You want to be able to see, what others are doing and how can you get that leg up, right? You can go in there and say, I want to do this because it's a great idea, but that's not going to always, do it. And not to mention, you're expending a lot of political capital when you're doing that. So being able to identify what that need is, address that need, and then be able to communicate that value is critical. I hope I answered the question. Please, please say
and the people in the chat are loving it too. So here's something though. So somebody actually asked about risks, right? And I think that there are clear risks to the individual. As somebody who focuses a lot on burnout, so much of what I see are people who, have these huge aspirations and they think they're going to change the world. It's not a coincidence that we see nurses and teachers and social workers, people who are ready to have this impact and find their sense of significance at work, be shot down by bureaucracy, right?
That's right.
So the question, I guess, would be, beyond our risk, what's the risk for employers? Why don't employers say yes to this as often as maybe they should?
Say yes to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, why don't they cultivate this? Why do we find that often people will try to break out and not be able to break out within their organization?
Oh, wow. I can continue. Oh, we can talk about this forever. I mean, you can have a chat just about this. Excuse me. I think that is a lot of, I would say, leadership. And when I say leadership, we can go on and look at middle management, where you have people that are effectively in a role that shouldn't be over people or managing people because they only have a track that's dedicated to people management, but not an individual contributor track where they can elevate through the organization. So they do not have those skills to be able to effectively manage and foster high potential, high performing talent in an organization. So that's one, right? You just got bad leadership. Two, it is, you can even take it to a place where organizations don't have an effective strategy. They do not have a strategy that they have truly built out that can be, trickled down the ranks for people to be able to have ideas that align to that strategy. So a lot of cases, and I'm not even going to say a lot because I cannot, back that up with data, but in cases that I've seen is that when there is an idea that goes against someone else in leadership's view of how things be, they get shot down. right? But then you also have leaders and managers and people managers who they base their success off of the people who work for them, right? And so that is an internal fear of there and an insecurity that if these people leave me, if these people branch out, if someone takes my people, then I'm not going to be able to effectively accomplish my goals. And we all know that goals from a individual perspective is most likely tied to some level of bonus, right? Your ability to succeed is then monetized. And if you're unable to succeed, then I don't get my money. And so that becomes a problem. So what I've seen is that you have to first kind of get an organization must be willing to invest in leadership skills, in management skills. They have to foster a value system that allows for people to go out, reach out, have shadow sessions, learn different things, and learn different types of skill sets to be able to improve their toolkit. And if they don't have that level of environment, they don't have that environment, you're dead in water all the time. But it really does hang on the hinge of management.
I love that. And so without naming names of organizations or individuals, have you, I'm sure you have, because I feel like if you came and worked for me, I'd feel threatened in the way that I just feel insignificant because you've got this stuff figured out, right? And so if I'm the manager and it's like, here, Shannel's on your team, I'd be like, oh my God, how many days until they figure out they don't need me anymore, right? So I'm sure at some point in your career, you must have run into a manager whose insecurities were coming up and sort of like put that ceiling on you. We know that organizations now need to be more creative than ever, because if you're not innovating, then you weren't ready for COVID. The organizations that had work from home already, and they had all of these different, and the employee empowerment, all these different things were put in place before COVID. They probably survived COVID a little bit better than organizations that were figuring out how to manage virtual teams for the very first time, right? So if innovation and flexibility isn't forefront of every organization's mind right now, I don't know why not. So knowing that there's definitely this place for more intrapreneurs, what would be your suggestion, or maybe what did you do in a time when you were faced with a manager who tried to put the brakes on your ingenuity?
What did I do? I left my company. No, but seriously, I really worked. So let's take a step back, right? Because I think it's an absolutely fair question. We are in an environment, we're in a situation right now where people can't leave their companies, right? They feel as though they're stuck. They're working for someone that doesn't maybe appreciate their value. They feel as though they're not going anywhere. They haven't seen the promotions that they think they deserve. So I've been in that situation. Right. And so the one thing I would say is I remember a time when I was under new leadership. I had a new manager come in, and I had specifically asked to develop some facilitation skills, right? Like for my professional development, I wanted to become a better facilitator. And they flat out told me that's not a part of your job set. That's job skills. That's not a part of your responsibilities. That's not something that you need to worry about. That's not something you need to develop. And so I challenged that. Right. I was like, why not? Like, you absolutely cannot tell me what my professional development looks like. We can identify what those goals are, but when it comes to professional development activities, I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you that this is something that I'm going to do. And that was because I knew and understood the performance management within my company. So one, educate yourself, right? Be able to educate yourself in the areas that you need in order to be able to tactfully push back. You're not going to always win that pushback, by no means, but be able to have those hard conversations. That goes into my second point, is you're going to have to be courageous. There were many times I've stepped out and said, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to prepare myself. I like to say, I got to stay ready so I don't have to get ready. Right. So after I identify the things that brought me joy, I dove headfirst into learning as much as I possibly could, from getting my degree to doing different types of internships to, learning more, reading more, getting the books. I mean, the library, between Amazon and the library, I bought so many books and borrowed so many books to get familiar and to really become an expert in the areas that brought me joy. I spoke to leaders in the industry so that when it was time for me to step up, I was ready. So my manager at the time said, you know what, Shannel, you can build out this workforce function, right? Or you can build out this project management function. I told them you would do project management. And I said, with all due respect, I want to do the workforce function. And she asked me, what qualifies you to be able to do that? Because my manager didn't know anything about me. They didn't care to know anything about me. And I was able to provide the background, the experience, the things that I've done, recommendations of who they can talk to and referrals to qualify me to be able to build out this pillar over here. Right. So at that time, she was still skeptical, but took that chance. Right. So that's what I mean by, getting ready. So stay ready so you don't have to get ready. But it is an uphill battle, when you are trying to, job and really try to build out your own role in the organization. It's hard, y'all. Like it is not an easy thing because you have to effectively see the barriers and break through them and be comfortable breaking through them. And I love what you said, David, about the burnout, right? Because burnout is real. Because effectively, at one point in time, when I was trying to prove that I was able to do all of these things, there's only 24 hours in a day, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm doing the work that they wanted me to do, but also going above and beyond and saying, I can also do these things. Let me take it a step further, right? Let me build those relationships. Let me build that trust. Let me continue delivering above and beyond on the things that you didn't even think of because you didn't even know you needed it, right? So it really is being able to get educated, dive in, do your upfront work, build your network, be ready, identify opportunities where you can actually insert what you love, what you know, what you've learned, and then manage your burnout risk. Because you can burn out when you're trying to go above and beyond. And burnout is so real, as I know you know.
Right. And especially because you are stretching and going above and beyond the job description purposefully. Now you're on this lonely island, and more often than not, I expect people will call you out when you mess up more often than telling you did a great job when you do it.
Absolutely. And that has happened to me. It's funny. I was telling a story. They had this fail like COE, right? And they asked me to come speak, and they were like, Shannel, can you talk about a fail? I was like, absolutely. Like it was around, I was doing employee engagement statistics, and I was doing surveys, and I compiled the surveys, and I had this long, huge Excel spreadsheet that was not automated and had all types of, errors in it. And I reported out on it, and it was wrong. Right. And so, I had to live with that error for a year and a half. My managers brought that error to my attention, that failure to my attention for a year and a half, because again, I was stretching myself to do something in this realm that they didn't even believe I could do. Right. And that was something that they were, see, Shannel, I told you that you would fail. I told you that this. So those are the types of things you may encounter. Not every manager is like that, and not every organization is like that. But with my experience, you have an uphill battle when you're trying to do something different. And I love a challenge. So
that's awesome, because there really is this. I remember working with a client where I brought in this person who had such a big personality and was so effective elsewhere. But it became very clear to me before they shook hands on the deal and brought the person in that it wouldn't work within this organization. And Dion on LinkedIn asked, what type of industries do you think are ideal to implement intrapreneurship within an organization? And I think that's immediately striking on something that, as IOs, you and I know that anytime you see a study that says everybody 100%,
Oh my
then
gosh,
it's
yes.
BS, right? So the question is entrepreneurship truly great for every industry and or organization, or are there times when it's less appropriate?
It depends on, I would say, several things. It depends on the state of the organization, right? I can't say one industry or another, right? I won't go into that because I'm not versed in every industry. But what I will say is that there are certain things that certain characteristics of an organization that you look for when it comes to being able to be an entrepreneur, right? So of course, it's all about innovation. It's all about, is this company right for building out new products and services, right? Are they invested in their organization and their employees being able to bring matters to the forefront? Are they doing design challenges? Are they doing, I forgot what it's called, but you go in and you do the products and you rate them, and it's like homegrown products and ideas and innovations. Are they doing those types of activities, right? Are you seeing new products and services coming in? Right? So that's innovation. Two, your leadership. So when you're looking at your leadership and the makeup of your leadership, and when I say leadership, I'm also bringing in middle management, right? Are they open to feedback, right? Are they sitting down and are they talking at you, or are they talking with you? Are there channels of feedback that are available throughout the organization? That's going to really let you know on one, when it comes to change. I'm a big believer that if I don't have leadership support, change is not going to work, right? So we can throw Cotter's model at it, we can throw whatever we want at it, but at the end of the day, if I don't have leadership support, I'm not doing it.
Right. It needs to start from within, but if leadership doesn't support it, it's not.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
not going.
Like I need power influence, right? So we're going to need some things done. But do you have that? Do you have that leadership? Is leadership open to change? Right. Three, are there programs to support leadership development? Right. And do you see them as that organization? Do they have not just programs, but are you seeing those levels of promotion? Because one of the things that we touched upon earlier is that insecurity that leadership has, or your manager may have about you growing and building out and doing things that doesn't necessarily fall within their realm of control. Right. So, if you have leadership that is, growing and developing and building, and they know they're going to get promoted, or they have a mechanism of promotion, then it may make it a lot easier for them to accept entrepreneurship. Right. And is there a need? Now, there always is a need to quote unquote change and grow. Right. But does the organization see that need? Do the organization see that, this is an opportunity for us to be able to leverage skill sets that we have in the organization? Saving money, right? But then two, being able to fulfill a quote unquote need within the organization from within. So there are different, and I'm sure there's more characteristics, but when you're looking at whether or not your organization is ready for entrepreneurship, those are some of the things that you should take a look at.
Right. Yeah, I love it. You need the structure there to support what's being done. And the other thing is that in addition to us knowing that nothing is 100% or 0%, we also know that most things exist on scales, and so there's a line between job crafting and intrapreneurship. I think within the literature, intrapreneurship would be changing the actual strategy of the organization, whereas job crafting is changing your own position within the job. And so they obviously, interact a lot. But I remember, so this does not come from the literature from when I saw it. It actually comes from NPR. But I'm sure it originated in the literature, maybe. But I remember years ago hearing the story that they did on job crafting with I think it was people that come in and clean the rooms in hospitals, or maybe even bring the food in hospitals. And so if there was a place where I thought, okay, job crafting should be minimized, it might be a hospital, because we don't want people deciding, oh, we need to give them an extra dose. And it's like, what? You're just supposed to bring the food. What are you talking about? Right. So intrapreneurship, for sure, in terms of changes in hospitals, have a lot of changing that they're working on that needs to continue. But what they found with this group was that some of the people they looked at would come in, they'd change the trash, they'd sweep up, and then they'd leave. And others would ask the patient how they were doing and if they needed help changing the channel. And what they found was that the people that jumped in and helped and sort of redefined their job, stepped out of the strict, job description, those people, I think they found were had higher job engagement and job satisfaction, and it seems like no wonder. But within that hospital setting, clearly you need to be a little bit more careful with the severity of it, as well as within the military, I would think. It's not. I don't think that you want like a soldier to be like, no guys, let's go this way. There could be problems there.
Right. And I want to definitely clarify, right? So job crafting, there's one thing to actually go above and beyond in your current, scope of work, right? So let's take that, the person that comes in and they empty the trash, and instead of just going in and leaving out, maybe they are, vacuuming, or they are, saying hi to the patient and having a conversation with the patient, right? Excuse me. I look at that as adding to the job description. But at the same time, true job crafting is a conversation between you and your leadership, right? It is not I'm just going to go off and do, because 9 times out of 10, that is going to make your leadership a little bit like they're going to be on edge, right? So I want to definitely focus on the fact that this is a two-way discussion, right? It is always a two-way discussion. It is a keep your leadership in the loop. That's a part of building out that trust, right? Because again, you don't want to burn any bridges. You want to maintain that. You want to have an advocate in them. You want to make them comfortable. In a lot of cases, and I've been honestly, truly blessed in the leadership that I have today, that they are open, willing, just like, Shannel, what do you want to do? Let's sit together. Let's have this conversation. We don't have a job description right now that is, what you want to do. So what does that look like? Let's talk about that, right? And that is like utopia for me. I'm just like, yes. But in other cases, it really is, I need you to stay in this box. And when you have someone like that, you need to be able to, like I said, breadcrumb it. Be able to meet that, talk to them about the two-way engagement. What is the value? What do you bring to the table? If you did this plus this is not I'm a high performer. Yeah, you could be, but this is a true job crafting. I am operating out of the bounds of my job description. And this is what I would prefer to do. So that when they look up, you are literally doing probably something totally different. And they are comfortable with that and advocating for that when it comes to things like performance reviews, right? A lot of companies are doing calibrations, and you're sitting there and you're being, knocked up against your peers. If you don't bring your manager along, something like job crafting would turn into, oh my gosh, this person is an insubordinate. They want to do, what they want to do. They want, it could turn really ugly really fast, right? And that's not what we want to promote at all. So being comfortable bringing them into the folds. And even when I had a really bad manager, I still did not shift or change my values, right? Like, I'm going to continue to keep you in the loop, even though you can be a bit jerky sometimes.
Yeah, right. So I love what you just said. I think it ties in a little bit to Michelle's comment on Facebook. So when you talk about going to the manager first, I think it's more than just a good idea to keep yourself out of trouble. It also is a way of issue selling. If the manager thinks that it's their idea, that is very good for me. They're more likely to say yes. If I can, within management, my entire strategy in my management career was to make my employees think everything was their idea. And it works both ways, right? You need to issue sell. to make sure that they see the value in it, and then they turn around and say, yeah, I think that's great. And okay, we might worry they'll take credit for it, but people from the outside look in and they see what's going on, even if you do have that rare person who's going to take all the credit for it. So Michelle's question specifically is there some type of system where you can weigh out the risks and rewards into supporting a new idea from one of your intrapreneurs? And I would love for you to answer that, and like maybe in the like under the context of issue selling, you know, right. How are you looking at this idea that the person's bringing to you?
So I think it's an excellent question, and it probably doesn't have a one size fit all response. I think it goes with the approach. So if I'm looking at it and one of my employees have brought to me, you know, this awesome, you know, idea, right? Is that the question? I just want to make sure I got it. I'm the manager and my employees are bringing it to me.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Got it. You know, first and foremost, I think you have to break through your natural responses. Right. I am not afraid to say that one of my natural responses is to say no. Right. Like, you know, I'm like, no, because I got 20 million things going on. You want to come to me with this big idea? Like, what is crazy? What is going on? Right. So breaking through, one, acknowledging what your natural response is. Right. And two, breaking through that, whether that's saying yes to everything, no to everything, being hesitant about everything, like break through and really listen and open with open ears. OK. Two, I would say, understand and ask know the right questions to ask, right? So whatever, you know, whether you're trying to identify the risk or the rewards, what are those questions that you may need to ask in order to get to risks and rewards, right? So for me, I want to understand the driver. I want to understand the why. I want to understand what we're solving for. Right. I want not just to question them or make them feel as though I don't believe them, but also to help promote what it is that they want to do, because the buck doesn't stop with me. You know, of course, as I stated before, I have to be able to sell this to my leadership. Mm-hmm. So let's kind of, you know, knock out all the cobwebs. Let's try to, you know, figure this thing out. And I'm going to do that by asking these types of questions. Right. I'm going to help build on the idea. Right. It's never a firm no, never at all. It might be a situation where it's not the right time. You know, if we're going through an acquisition or we're in a state of freeze and they want to do all these things, you know, that it might not be a good time. Right. You know, those are some of the things that, you know, as a manager and being in leadership and knocking those up against this idea. Right. And being able to softly tell them, not right now. Let's look at this. There are some things that are happening in the environment that probably would not promote this idea, or it might not be a good time now. So give us a couple of months and actually follow up with them on that. Mm-hmm. However, if it's an idea that definitely could take shape, let's co-create. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Now you're adding your level of experience and what you know about the organization to this idea to help give it that footing it needs to be able to be packaged up and sold. And then let's break out what those risks and rewards are to the organization. Because again, I'm probably thinking about, depending on the communication style of my leadership, you know, it could be a deck. It could be a 15-minute kind of, you know, discussion. You have to understand what communication channels you're going to use to get your idea over. But it's not necessarily me assessing the risk and rewards. It's helping my employee be able to identify what those risks and rewards are so that we can get in front of it and we can absolutely be able to have an answer to those. Because if we know it, my leadership probably knows it. Right, so it becomes a partnership where you are stating to your employee, I trust in you. I'm now going to coach you, and let me give you a platform for you to be able to communicate this out and let you know that I have your back on this.
Yeah. Yeah. And being able to tie it for the employee and the manager, to be able to tie it to the values of the organization, have a deep understanding of the politics of the organization and the current strategy of the organization. Because you're right, if you're in the middle of an acquisition, that's a very specific strategy of there's a lot on everyone's plate. And if you go in a different direction, that's not really gonna help. So it's about knowing everything about the organization as much as you can about the organization really gives you the power to sell it that way, package it that way so that it's crystal clear by the time it gets to the manager or upper management. Like this is in line with what you guys are looking for, not counter to what you're looking for, just a dream of mine. But that brings me to what I think is a good place to end off here. My question for you, because you wrote this beautiful blog post in the past on finding your North Star. Yeah. And I wonder, we just talked about, the knowing the organization's values, but I wonder if you could talk about what it means to find your North Star and how important that role has played in your career, giving you the confidence and the ability to be an intrapreneur.
That's right. Thank you. I would say that it has played I can't even measure the size of value that it has played in my life. I bring my values to work, right? Like you have to, well, let me take a step back. So one thing I will say is that you have to do that level of introspection to be able to identify, what your values are. And what you are going to deal with and what you're not going to deal with. And you have to find the strength to be able to stand up for your values. So for example, identifying those areas or those events that have taken place that made you feel good or bad. I remember being in, I had just moved to a different team and I was getting to know my colleagues, and we were in a room, and one of the colleagues that I had, and it was actually my manager at the time, started talking really bad about one of the guys that I used to work with. And I just sat there, and the colleagues started piling on. And I remember going home and driving home, and I was talking to my husband, and I was like, they were talking really bad about this person. I didn't say anything, and it made me feel horrible. So at that time, I said, that's not going to happen again. like nice. As part of my value system, I am going to find the courage to speak up when I feel as though something is wrong. And it wasn't just about that person, but across the board, right? If someone is doing something that's not in line with, company values, or they're asking my opinion and I disagree, I'm going to speak up. And so I actually had the opportunity to put that into practice because they started talking about someone else. And I was able to stand up and say, later on, actually, that's a good friend of mine. I think we can learn a lot from this person. I understand that you have, your thoughts and that's fine. But can you not, if it's not steeped in data, then don't really need to share it with me, because it's very personal. And my heart was beating. I had heart palpitations. I felt like I broke into sweats, right? But it goes back to you defining those values that you're going to live in. And I brought those to work, right? I am going to hold myself and others accountable. I am going to put my why at the center. I am going to be able to build up, not break down. I am going to help when I can, help when people are in need. These are all the things that I've brought to the table. And, as long as I'm aligned with my value system, and I also am a big proponent of the 4 agreements, and I couple it with that, love it. I'm always going to win. And I don't say that to boast, but I say that in a level of confidence, because I've created through a lot of hard work. And again, it has not been easy, but being able to identify what I love, what I enjoy, being able to monetize that, being able to sell that, and aligning that up with my values has put me in a situation where I love coming to work. And I enjoy helping others find what they enjoy about coming to work. So
love it. Love it. So quick, you mentioned the 4 agreements. The 4 agreements, the book is like right over there, but I'm not going to read you.
I love it.
Who writes the 4 agreements? Do you know?
So the 4,
Do you know the author? 4 agreements?
Oh my gosh, I don't know the author. I do not know the author.
Well, you tell them what the 4 agreements are, and I'm gonna quickly grab the book.
So I do not know. Ooh, can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit, not as much as we could.
Did I lose you?
A little bit.
Oh God. Hold on.
I hear you better now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, and by the way, Juanita on Facebook says, I love your energy, Shannel. You inspired me.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you, Juanita. All right. So for agreements, so be impeccable with your words, right? So be very
Yes.
deliberate, be impeccable with your words. Don't take anything personally. This was something I struggled with a lot because of the fact that, I am a sensitive human being. Don't make any assumptions. So we always
Hmm.
kind of go to the worst case scenario. I think it was Brene Brown that talked about, a crappy draft, your crappy first draft, right? Don't make those assumptions. And at the end of the day, do your best. Whether that is your 20%, do 100% of your 20%, or do 100% of your 100%. And so throughout my day, and I have it right here on my laptop because I keep it in the foremost. When I am stressed out or when I'm angry about something, I'm like, am I taking it personally? Is this my crappy first draft?
Right.
Or if someone does me wrong or I feel as though I've been, I'm put in a situation where I have been done wrong, I'm like, am I still doing my best? Because that's what I can only change myself. I can only
Right.
do or change who I am, not others.
Right. I love it. And it's Don Miguel Ruiz writes this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes.
that's cool. I really do have it right over there. Um, and
I gave it. I have sons, and I gave it to them for Christmas. And so I was like, y'all need to read this book because it is amazing. And they're
right.
like, sure, okay, mom, whatever.
And this is something even a teenager can read because it's like 25 pages.
It's
And
like
if they
it is
read the cliff
it's
notes,
like
they got it.
strong 40 pages, right? And it just hammers it home to those four agreements. And ever since I came across it, I was like, yep, yep, yep. And
Yeah.
it has not done me wrong.
That's awesome. I love that you identify your values and you explain them by like what makes me feel good and what makes me feel
Yes.
not so good, and
Yeah.
then you had the guts to stand up for them, and I think that is so cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, and it also helps you to be able to identify what organizations you want to work for and what organizations you don't want to work for.
Yeah.
It helps you to ask those questions in those interviews as well.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And Juanita points out your point before. She said, so true. It's sometimes so hard to know when you're taking something personally or not. And it
Yep,
definitely, you have to look in before you look out because
that's
most
right.
of the time it's going to be, and that's where emotional intelligence plays the piece, right? It starts
That's
with
right.
looking at me before I can ever look
That's
at
right.
others and those
That's
four
right.
agreements don't make no assumptions or whatever. I think that's really, really important. So, okay, Shannel, how can
Yes.
people get in touch with you?
Oh my gosh, you can email me at shannelwinslow@gmail.com.
And we'll put that in
Um,
the under the
please,
post.
yeah,
Yeah.
please do. I respond. I try to respond quickly to email. Please keep me honest. You can catch me on
You're
LinkedIn.
pretty good. If you ping her on LinkedIn, she'll get back to you right away.
Yeah. Thank you, David. You can ping me on LinkedIn. You can send me shoot me an email. I am always open to one conversations, two advice. Like I feel as though you just really just need to. Sometimes you need someone to help you think through something and help co-create. And I'm that person, and I enjoy it. I
Mhm.
truly do.
Yeah, that is awesome, and that is true. Shannel, I've turned to Shannel multiple times in my life for some advice, and she's absolutely amazing. We both do some adjunct
Yeah.
professorship at
Perceptionship, maybe, kind of. Yeah.
yeah, and when I was getting ready to get started with my first class, I called Shannel. I'm like, Shannel, tell me what to do. Tell me, tell me the trade secrets. She's really amazing in every avenue where I've seen you. You shine.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
so Shannel Winslow at gmail.com.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
Or in
And
LinkedIn.
connect on LinkedIn if you're
Please
especially
connect
if you're
with
watching
LinkedIn.
on LinkedIn, type that in right now and connect with Shannel right now. Next week, same time, we're going to be talking with Heidi Malentz about avoiding the disconnect when you reconnect, the important role of emotional intelligence as we return to work. And Heidi's this incredibly interesting and charismatic individual. Another one. Heidi is in South Africa, where she's an actress and a coach, and she's just got so many roles that she plays. But emotional intelligence comes into every piece of that, and so she blew me away when we got on a call. I'm like, I need you to come on here. So looking forward to that. And hopefully we can have Shannel back part 2, because clearly you are a fountain of knowledge. And I'd love to talk about more. There were so many things we just sort of like skimmed over because of time and because it's, we're trying to keep on task here, which is never easy for me. But
I mean, we could talk forever, David.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and thank you again, Shannel. Really appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye.